From miracle cures to cutting-edge treatments, stories about health are often top of the news agenda. But how do you know which ones to believe when they so often contradict each other?
Well, don't worry, because we are here to dig behind those confusing headlines to help you work out which ones are based on solid facts and which ones are a bit more like works of fiction. Every day we're bombarded with conflicting messages about how to live a healthy, happy life.
1 minute we're told something's the right thing to do. The next, it's the complete opposite. And we're left without a clue which advice to follow.
So we've been wading through the confusion to separate the scare stories from the truth, to help you work out what's best for you.
Hello and welcome back to Health, Truth or Scare, the programme that investigates all sorts of medical mysteries. We sort the science from the scare stories so that you know whether to keep taking the tablets or to throw them in the bin.
Now, in this series, we've come to the spa town of Bath. Now, for centuries, its natural springs have drawn people here to benefit from its supposedly health-giving waters. But certainly from these wonderful historic surroundings, we're going to be bringing you bang up to date with some of the most cutting-edge treatments that are available, both on the high street and from the NHS. And we're going to be trying to unpick some of the controversies that surround them, from the illegal street drug that's been reformulated as a life-changing treatment to the diet that claims to be able to reverse what used to be a chronic and lifelong disease.
Now, if you're finding it all a bit bewildering, keep watching. By the end of the programme, we hope you'll know just what you can believe and what you can't.
Coming up, from illegal high to miracle cure. Now that we can buy cannabis products at the local health shop, in the interest of science, I give them a go to see whether they're wonder drugs or just plain hype. It tastes like olive oil with chili.
And it's one of our most common yet controversial procedures, getting your tonsils out. But with reports saying it's unnecessary and expensive, Steve Brown sets off to see if the latest technology might change opinions.
The tonsils are literally disappearing. They're not coming out, they're just vanishing.
Now, I never thought I'd get to utter the words, Angela Rippon tries cannabis. But on Health, Truth or Scare, this is what we do. We are all for breaking down barriers.
I have to say, it was all perfectly legal. You do know you can now get cannabis oil on the NHS.
Yeah, I was just teasing. I didn't mean to imply you were meeting a dealer on some kind of sleazy street corner, is it?
As if. In fact, scientists have discovered that cannabis has far more to offer than an illegal high. They believe it's got medicinal properties that really can be used to treat a whole range of conditions where other treatments have failed. And yet, this is still one of the world's most controversial substances. So I've been talking to some of its users, and yeah, all right, I did sample it as well.
I knew it.
How you feeling? It's been a bit of a rough week.
In this recent documentary, Ride with Larry, an ex-police officer in America with advanced Parkinson's disease is seen trying medicinal cannabis oil for the first time.
No, don't try to communicate, just relax.
Within 4 minutes, the violent tremors he usually suffers from have subsided, and Larry is able to sit and talk calmly for the first time in years.
So quickly.
Isn't that amazing?
It was too bad.
It works most of the time.
It's obviously not done under lab conditions, but footage like this is opening people's eyes to the power of the drug. That is an astonishing bit of footage. It's also a very dramatic and pretty convincing demonstration of the way in which cannabis oil can help an awful lot of very sick people who are suffering with things like Parkinson's, with multiple sclerosis, cancer, and of course epilepsy. But in spite of that case and others that are like it, not everyone is convinced that cannabis oil should be available in the UK. The arguments over the use of cannabis oil continue in the media, with numerous confusing reports. Alongside several anecdotal stories about apparent miracle cures, there are others arguing that, in fact, there's precious little scientific evidence that cannabis actually works. Others warn that medicine will open the back door to fully legalising the Class B drug for recreational use. With the blizzard of media stories surrounding it, it's hard to know whether we should be hailing it as an important new medicine or being wary of the hype. At St George's University Hospital in London, Professor Hannah Koch is a consultant specialist in epilepsy, and she's one of the few doctors in the country allowed to prescribe cannabis-based medicines. She says there's still some confusion between the drug and its medical uses.
Cannabis is a plant. There are lots of strains, and the main compounds of interest are cannabidiol and THC, tetrahydrocannabinol.
It's the THC compound that naturally occurs in cannabis that gives users its high, and the THC has been all but removed from the medicinal version, with a max of 0.2% allowable. The cannabidiol, on the other hand, provides the therapeutic effects that can appear so dramatic and have proven so controversial. Last summer, 12-year-old Billy Caldwell from County Tyrone hit the headlines after his family travelled to Canada in order to get hold of a medical form of cannabis oil, or CBD oil as it's otherwise known, which his family claim is the only treatment that significantly reduces his severe epileptic seizures. But as it was still banned in Britain, customs officials confiscated the CBD oil when they returned to the UK. That story led to the family of another epilepsy sufferer, Alfie Dingley, to also speak out with celebrity support, prompting a change of heart from the government.
Cases like Billy's, Alfie Dingley's, and others like him have shown that we now need to look more closely at the use of cannabis-based medicines.
A few months later, in November of 2018, CBD was legalised here in Britain. And that meant that it was possible for children like Alfie and Billy to gain access to those drugs that made such a difference to their lives. Though some forms of the cannabis-derived CBD oil are now legally available on the NHS, its use is tightly controlled.
In broad terms, the diseases that have been covered are some rare types of childhood onset epilepsy, MS for painful spasms, and in the context of chemotherapy, some cancers for anti-nausea. I have a population of maybe 2,000 or 3,000 patients with epilepsy under my care that I've looked after over the last 15, 20 years, but only maybe 4 or 5 who might be eligible for this drug.
But the change in the law to allow the medicinal use of CBD through the NHS has opened the door for another type of CBD product to be sold on the high street, albeit in a much weaker form. And it's these products that have been the target of media charges that they're just too weak to be effective. Professor of Psychopharmacology, Celia Morgan from the University of Exeter, has studied CBD products for several years.
So these are some of the products that you can get in a local health food shop. So they vary from some creams, drops of CBD, and tablets, as well as things. This is a spray that you could spray into the back of your throat. They're all pretty low in CBD concentration compared to the things that we look at in our laboratory studies of CBD.
Holland and Barrett were the first UK retailer to sell this weaker form of CBD in January 2018. Though officially classified as a food supplement, its fans insist that it can relieve everything from tired muscles to conditions like cerebral palsy and even cancer, despite the fact that it's up to 50 times less powerful than the prescription medication.
There's only one form of CBD which has been licensed.
So what's the point of these?
Well, I think people have become interested in its wide range of potential properties. But actually, people are selling these products in health food shops. People don't really know what they're getting.
Are you saying they're completely useless then?
We don't have the evidence with these really low doses, so I can't rule them out altogether. But to my mind, they're nowhere near as effective as the claims that they're making.
Celia might be doubtful about the actual healing properties of these over-the-counter products, but thousands of others disagree. Around 250,000 CBD products were sold in Britain last year, and one convert is Richard Holt from London. As a keen jiu-jitsu practitioner, he looks the image of good health, but he's still dealing with the after effects of a serious injury sustained on a stag do 11 years ago.
I ended up falling out of a hotel room window, falling 24 feet. Both my lower legs were very badly damaged. So I had several months of hospital, wheelchairs, reconstruction. They did a great job surgically, but it left me with a lot of pain.
After years on and off prescription painkillers, Richard decided to try CBD oil after hearing how some of the guys he trains with at the gym take it as an alternative to ibuprofen to treat their aches and pains.
The first time I used it, I just tried a little bit after training before going to bed, and I just felt that difference when I woke up. The stiffness and the soreness that I get particularly in my injuries, I just noticed that was significantly less.
Richard's sparring partner, Trent Scanlon, is also a user of CBD.
I've got no doubt CBD is helping me and helping my lifestyle, and at 42 I'm able to train 5-6 times a week in a high impact sport, and that usually means a lot of pressure on the joints, a lot of pressure on the muscles, and CBD definitely helps me for that.
While Richard and Trent might be convinced it's the CBD oil that's helping them, there's no scientific proof that they're right. And given how low strength over-the-counter CBD really is, many medical experts are sceptical about its benefits. But in the interest of medical science, I've decided to put some of these treatments to the test myself. I recently had surgery on my right shoulder, and it's all taking a bit longer to heal out than I thought it would. I've got pretty good range of movement. It hurts, but it's pain that I can deal with. But the minute I add pressure to that movement, like a real tennis ball hitting the tennis racket, then I'm in trouble. So I'd be happy to try anything that might help ease the pain. And I'm going to give over-the-counter cannabis oil a try to see if it's all hype or actually helps. And we'll see how I get on a bit later in the programme. Earlier, we looked at the contradictory claims in the media over the benefits and effectiveness of the cannabis oil that's now on sale in health shops. It's touted by some as a miracle drug that can even cure cancer. But doctors warn that it's an unproven product. So now I'm going to try it myself to see what effect it has on my sore shoulder. First up, CBD in the form of a cream. It's funny looking stuff. It's sort of brown. It's like putty. But I'm going to rub it on and let's see what happens. It does actually go into the skin quite well. And let's see if this helps while I'm having a quick look up. According to the manufacturer, this cream includes all the cannabinoids naturally found in the plants. But I'm afraid it's not helping me very much. Well, even with these incredibly squidgy children's tennis balls, I have to say, having put on some of the cannabis cream, it's actually not making any difference. It still hurts. So let's see what happens when I take the cannabis oil. Let's see if this makes any difference. It tastes like olive oil with chilli. The oil was purchased at a high street chain, and the 10ml bottle contained 5% of CBD oil. It's around 50 times weaker than medicinally prescribed CBD. I think we should call that game, set, and match, don't you? Thanks very much. Thank you very much. Do you know, I'm not feeling quite as much pain as I was when I was doing it before. It hurts, but it's a kind of ache and pain I'm used to. Not the severe pain that I was feeling before I took the oil. So maybe that cannabis oil has just taken the worst of the pain out. Of course, there are many other reasons why I might have felt better after playing, so we can't put it down to the CBD oil with any certainty. It might just be the placebo effect. But several recent press reports have portrayed CBD as something of a miracle drug. Time to see what Professor of Psychopharmacology Celia Morgan makes of the conflicting press stories. A woman who suffered severe panic attacks overcame her anxiety thanks to just, £30 worth of oil that helps her feel instantly calm.
Well, we noticed as one of the main reasons that people take CBD is for anxiety symptoms, and there have been some studies in animals and in humans, but only giving single doses of CBD and with quite mixed findings. So I'd say there's not, at the moment, really convincing evidence out there for CBD reducing anxiety.
The woman in question bought her legal, low-dose, over-the-counter CBD oil from a high street pharmacy. Let's take something a bit more dramatic. This is a cancer patient who says that cannabis oil had cured her. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer in 2016. 2 years on, she's told she's cancer-free. That is an astounding claim.
Yes, so this is an incredible story, but we really need more research in order to be able to start prescribing CBD, for instance, for cancer sufferers, to know that this is not just a freak occurrence.
And in this case, it seems the CBD oil didn't come from a reputable source, so its chemical makeup is unclear, something the NHS warns potential users to be very careful of. But even the stronger, medically approved CBD oil has attracted some negative headlines. All right, we've got to show the other side of the story, and this is The Spectator, talking about the bad science of cannabis oil. Presumably, there are side effects.
Yep, so there were side effects in epilepsy trials of nausea, vomiting, sleepiness, so not very severe side effects when you consider the dramatic change in quality of life of these children with epilepsy. So the amount they reduced their seizures by about 23% compared to placebo.
So is cannabis oil a miracle drug? Well, the answer seems to be, while anecdotal evidence is encouraging, we're yet to see any scientific proof of its powers. And certainly, the over-the-counter version is so weak, don't yet believe the hype.
So, you really thought the cannabis oil made a difference to your shoulder, Angela? Hang on a minute, are you sure it just wasn't a placebo effect?
I think you probably could say that. I was willing it to make a difference. But what I would say is that if you ask a doctor, they will tell you that the stuff that you can actually get over the counter from the chemist or a health store simply does not have enough active ingredients in it to do very much. So what I would say is that while some people absolutely swear by it, don't expect miracles.
And on that note, we'll have to leave it there for today. It's time for Angela and me to see what Batt's famous spa waters can do for us.
Have you ever tasted it?
No, I haven't, but I've got a funny feeling I'm going to have to go first, am I?
After you, Kev.
Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.